Is America planning to boycott South Africa? And if they do, would it even be fair? Let's quickly break it down. So America is mad at South Africa for not doing everything America tells them to do. What America is against, South Africa has to be against. Actually, this counts for the whole world. But South Africa, in fact the world, might be stuck in a moral dilemma. Because for the first time since the Second World War, America is extremely exposed. Let's quickly look at America's war against terror. So this war killed over 4.5 million people in the Middle East. In fact, many say that this number is unquantifiable. They can't actually say how many people lost their lives, other than millions lost their lives. And the world is starting to ask questions like, does this justify 4.5 million people losing their lives? And this doesn't even equate to the people whose lives were destroyed. Just because 2,996 people died in 9/11. What's even more scary is that there is a growing number of Americans who believe that 9/11 was actually self-inflicted by the government. Let's look at our American heroes, actors, sports stars who are involved in abusing children. They're politicians, powerful people, even presidents who are connected to Jeffrey Epstein and on his island, and people know what they did, and they still just get away with this stuff. It's really difficult to start not seeing them as a bunch of savages. Do we remember how Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all their mainstream media outlets who lied to us during lockdowns about vaccines, all these kind of things? Now we have to put up with the Americans and their war against Russia. If you still think that Ukraine is at war with Russia, you better wake the fuck up. American parents have no more rights over their children whatsoever. If little Johnny's teacher decides that little Johnny wants to be a little girl now, little Johnny is going to become a girl, and there's nothing the parents or even the citizens can do about it. The US government might be the biggest child and human trafficking cartel in the world. The government calls it open borders, but the citizens call it a border crisis. And this border crisis has caused more deaths in America than any terrorist can ever dream of. I mean, look at their fentanyl deaths last year. 112,000 people died of fentanyl poisoning. And it's their government's fault. Now look at the ANC. Love them or hate them, we have a lot of reasons to despise the ANC, but we have to admire how they are standing up to this giant and how they are handling this entire situation. They never chose a side between Ukraine and Russia. They always only championed for peace. And now the ANC is facing a moral dilemma with Palestine, because what's happening in Palestine is very sad, okay? But look further than that. The ANC, as far as you can look back, has always stood with Palestine. In fact, I think it was Nelson Mandela who said, South Africa will never be free until Palestine's free. These are very deep-rooted relationships. And for the USA to expect South Africa, especially after what Israel said about the ANC, to expect the ANC to just roll over and let everyone tickle their bellies is never going to happen. Now, America has labeled Hamas as a terrorist group, and maybe they are. But more and more people are starting to refer to America as terrorists. And considering their headcount for the last 23 years, isn't it really insane to label them as that? What makes them not terrorists? Is it their fancy suits, their fancy accents, their fancy cars, properties, beautiful country? I mean, Pablo Escobar had all those things. Didn't make him a good person. And considering their potential ban of TikTok, their racist hatred towards China, towards the Middle East, or even their hatred towards Russia, they are at conflict with the entire world. They are even at war with their own kind, their very own citizens. The USA is totally out of control, but it's always been that way. It's just being exposed now. And the world is starting to have enough. I don't understand what America's problem with China is in the first place. They gave China all this power, Please manufacture our phones. Please manufacture this and that. We don't want our citizens to be employed, so please do all of this stuff for us. So that put China in a very, very strong position. So the world's done what it's always done. It's building, it's innovating, its technology is growing faster than we can keep up with. The only country that's not keeping up is the United States. They are asking everybody to do everything for them. They don't produce their own oil anymore. They get their oil from the Middle East, but now they want to fuck with the people who's actually giving them everything they need to survive. The senators don't even know the difference between Singapore and China. I mean, in what world do you live in a country where people who make decisions about your life doesn't even know the basics? Our national IQ in South Africa is sitting at 68.87, and even we know the difference between Singapore and China. They're going through all this effort to harm China. What if China says we're done with you? No more iPhones, no more Microsoft, no more fancy laptops and everything, but that'll also be okay, because China will just be manufacturing more Samsungs, more Huawei's than ever before. In 5 or 10 years from now, we'll even forget that Apple ever existed. The USA is crashing, and what we are witnessing in real time is the last squeals of a dying animal. In fact, America has become so weak that all their sanctions in Russia has done for Russia has made Russia's economy the strongest it's been in 40 years. So the USA at the moment is extremely exposed, and the world, I think, has seen enough. Just think back 4 years. America, we loved you. In fact, we adored you, but you lied to us, and you lied to your own citizens. And the world has changed a lot, and it's moving on, and it's moving on better without you than what they were with you. Maybe the world should just move on. I'll see you soon.